Chosen one, stop for a moment and pay close attention because something you can't see has just changed in your life. This is not a normal time, and you hearing these words right now is not a coincidence. Heaven has a way of stopping the normal when justice is about to happen. Anointed one, some people thought they had drained you. People, systems, and hidden resistance all thought the story had already been written against you. They thought that what they took from you would always be theirs, and that the fact that no one was talking about your death meant that the matter was over. Heaven, on the other hand, does not forget what was done in secret. Chosen one, the God who sees every small wrong has been watching carefully, not with indifference, but with precision. What seemed like a delay was really getting ready. The book of Ecclesiastes says that there is a time for everything under heaven, and the time when your enemies seemed invincible is coming to an end. You stayed honest even though you were betrayed. You lost something but didn't give up your faith, and that strength has brought something to light in the spiritual world that can't be hidden anymore. If this message speaks to your heart, think about subscribing so you don't miss the words that are meant for you in the next season. What you're about to hear will explain why the wrongs you suffered are now becoming divine justice. Chosen one, pay close attention because something is changing in the dark. Heaven has always seen what you went through. Even as these words reach you, there were times when the injustice felt too much to bear, even though no one else could see it. When you saw people benefit from what you built, when you saw doors open for people who had quietly taken your effort, your loyalty, your creativity, and even your trust, and at those times, it might have seemed like the story had already been written against you, but the truth is much more complicated than what you could see at the time. Heaven wasn't ignoring what happened, it was keeping track of it. I want you to really understand this, chosen one, because this is where a lot of people lose faith. The mind thinks there won't be any consequences if they don't happen right away. Silence seems like agreement. Delay feels like losing. But heaven doesn't work on the clock of human impatience. There is a divine order that governs justice, and that order moves with precision. What seemed like silence in your life was really the quiet setting up of a courtroom you couldn't see. They were gathering evidence. Patterns were starting to show up. In a place where excuses don't work, motives were being revealed. Some of you can remember the exact time of year when things changed, when you realized that something had been stolen from you. You might have told someone you trusted about a business idea you had. It could have been a promotion that you should have gotten, but it went to someone who borrowed your work without telling you. It could have been a relationship where your loyalty was used against you and your kindness was seen as a sign of weakness. The loss had an impact on more than just your situation. No matter what form it took, it hit something deeper. It took time, it broke the flow, it put questions in your heart that took years to figure out. And if we're being honest for a second, chosen one, those questions weren't small. You thought about conversations you had at night and wondered if you had been too kind, too patient, or too trusting. You asked God in a quiet voice, sometimes out of anger and sometimes out of tiredness. Did I miss something? Did I get what you asked me to do wrong? There was nothing foolish about those questions. They came from a place of honesty and a desire to understand unfairness. People with clean hearts have a hard time when they see calculated behavior because they don't know how to deal with it. But heaven knew what you couldn't see clearly. It wasn't just a chance to get something material that was taken from you. It had something to do with the spirit. Some people can handle you when your power is small, but they get very uncomfortable when your clarity starts to grow. They are happy to take advantage of your ideas, work, and energy as long as you stay within a limit that keeps them in charge. Resistance shows up as soon as your vision starts to grow, not because you changed, but because the light you carry starts to show things that other people wanted to keep hidden. The stress you felt was never really about competition, chosen one. It was about getting out there. When someone has an anointing that naturally shows shortcuts, laziness, manipulation, and false authority, it messes up places that were built on those things, and a lot of the time, you don't even have to say anything for that to happen. Just being there changes the mood. Your honesty is like a mirror that other people don't always want to look into. That's why some people steal instead of building, because building takes time and effort. You only need to be close to steal. I know what this looks like because I've been through a season like this before. For years, I worked on something in secret, and then it started to grow. It wasn't showy, it wasn't loud, but it had a point, and at some point, someone who had access to that work chose to move forward with parts of what had been shared in secret. Everything seemed professional on the surface, polite conversations, formal agreements, and smiles in public, but something didn't feel right in my spirit under that surface. It was like seeing a play of a story you helped write on a stage where your name had been quietly taken off. Nothing happened for a long time, no exposure, no fixing, no saying sorry, and I remember thinking that I might have gotten the whole thing wrong. Maybe I should just let it go and move on. But I didn't get it back then. Now I do. When something touches what God has marked for a purpose, it is no longer just between people, it is now between heaven and the actions that took place. Heaven doesn't hurry to answer because it isn't reacting emotionally. Heaven is putting things in order. There is a spiritual law that cannot be changed. If someone messes with what God gave you, they are not competing with you, they go to court with heaven. Heaven lets patterns fully show themselves, so that case may take some time to unfold. People are sometimes allowed to go higher than they should have so that the fall is clear and final, not dramatic, ordered. I've seen times when someone seemed unstoppable for years, but then everything changed in just a few months when they were exposed. This is why you might not notice what's going on around you right now. It might not look like revenge or chaos. In fact, it will probably feel very calm. Doors that were once locked begin to open easily. People who were talking about you before suddenly start talking about you again. People who used to get in your way now quietly step aside. Systems that seemed like they couldn't be changed start to change in ways that you could never have made happen on your own. And when these things happen, you'll feel something strange inside your spirit. There will be calm. That peace will show you that the change isn't coming from your work, it comes from being in line. Once truth starts to flow through the structure, what was built on lies can't last. The base starts to break down from the inside, the support that kept it together slowly goes away, and the same trap that was made for you starts to fall apart under the weight of the person who made it. This is why you were never meant to fight back, chosen one. There were times when you could have spoken out, defended yourself, or made certain things public, but something inside you stopped you. At the time, that restraint seemed like a lot of money. It felt like being quiet was letting wrong things happen, but that restraint protected something much bigger. It kept the legal ground that heaven needed to fully act on your behalf. And what is happening now is not just a trade. It's not about getting back something small. This is restoration with a twist, because when heaven gives back what was taken, it doesn't just give back the thing, it puts things back in their place. It brings back power, it gives voice back, and sometimes it opens doors that would never have been there if the original laws hadn't forced you to align more deeply. The most important thing for you to know right now, chosen one, is that this moment is not about getting back at someone, it's about order. Heaven is not making you look bad to anyone. Heaven is raising you up to build something that can't be changed again. There is a table being set up in your life, not for show, but for witnesses, and the people who used to think your silence was a sign of weakness will start to understand that it was actually maturity waiting for the right time to show itself. And as this change starts to happen around you, there is something in heaven that is watching even more closely than the outcome itself. It is watching how you handle what comes next, because justice is just the start of what God is going to do in your life, chosen one. There is something that heaven wants you to know before the next part of this story becomes clear in your life. Justice may be on its way, things may be changing, and restoration may already be quietly making its way to you. But the most important test isn't the downfall of the people who hurt you. When the balance starts to change, the most important test is how you feel about it. A lot of people think that being vindicated gives them the right to be tough. They believe that when justice comes, anger is okay and pride is okay. But that's not how the path of the anointed works. Heaven never brings someone back just to make a point. Heaven brings someone back to set up a new order, and that order needs a character that has already been tested under stress. Chosen one, heaven can trust you with what's to come because you weren't perfect during the process. You learned to hold back while you were hurt. You learned how to stay clean even when things weren't clean. You learned how to stay true to yourself even when others around you took the easy way out. It's not common to have that kind of strength. A lot of people can't handle that kind of stress. Some people give in just to get through the moment. But you stayed, and sometimes it felt like everyone else was moving ahead while I stayed still. There were times when it seemed like the people who cut corners were getting ahead of the people who chose to be honest. If someone doesn't understand how divine timing works, that can make them lose faith, because manipulation can seem like success in the short term, lying can look like speeding up, but things that grow quickly without a strong base will eventually fall apart under their own weight. You weren't forgotten by heaven, chosen one. The delay was not because of that, the wait was for getting ready. God can't give you certain things until your spirit is strong enough to handle them without hurting you again. People don't give authority lightly. It is built through patience, humility, and obedience when it seems like there is no reason to be obedient. Some of you can remember the exact moment when something inside you changed. You stopped trying to get people to see things your way. You stopped asking people who had already made up their minds for explanations. You stopped going over the same conversations in your head, trying to fix something that was never meant to last. And at that moment, something big started to happen. When striving stopped, alignment started. After an unfair event, there is a holy moment when a soul stops asking questions, not angry anymore, not desperate for answers, just quietly done with carrying a weight that was never yours to bear. You might feel like giving up at that moment, but it's really the start of authority. Heaven can finally move fully on your behalf when you stop fighting battles that belong to it. I remember getting to that point in my own journey. For a while, I spent months trying to clear up misunderstandings about something that had happened in my life. I kept explaining myself, hoping that things would change if people knew the truth. But the more I talked, the more tired I got. I came to understand something important in the end. Your voice doesn't have to fix every story. Some stories fall apart on their own when time shows what words can't fix. Something surprising happened when I finally stopped defending myself. Months later, the same people who had ignored my voice started asking questions. Things that once seemed closed began to open again without my help. Doors that people had closed quietly opened up again, and at that moment, I understood something that I want you to remember today. Chosen one, God doesn't need your help to make things happen when He wants to move you. He just needs you to be on the same page. That is what is starting to happen in your life right now. At first, the change might not seem big. It could show up as small changes in conversations, attitudes, or chances. Someone who used to ignore your ideas is now paying more attention. A door that looked like it was always closed suddenly swings open with no effort. An opportunity comes up that brings peace instead of stress. These things are not just random. These are signs that the mood around your name is changing, and there is another sign that this change has already begun. It's happening in you. Your mind is starting to let go of the grip that past strongs had on you. Your thoughts are clearer now. You're not getting as upset as you used to. Things that used to make you angry now go through your spirit without affecting it. That isn't being detached. That is healing. Your inner world is becoming more stable. Your ability to tell the difference between things gets better when your inner world settles down. Chosen one, restoration doesn't always bring things back exactly how they were lost. God sometimes keeps some doors closed because those places were part of the harm you went through. Real healing doesn't mean putting you back where you were hurt. It is about moving you to a place where the same harm can't happen again. This is why some old relationships won't be able to be fixed. Some places will always be behind you. That is not a punishment. That is safety. People who took advantage of your kindness without respecting your boundaries thought that your patience meant they could do what they wanted. They thought that since there was no immediate effect, there wouldn't be any effect at all. But heaven moves in a different way. When God starts to put things back in order, He doesn't tell the guilty. He tells the people who are aligned. And that's why you got this message today, because you are getting ready for the time when what is yours starts to come back. Chosen one, as restoration starts to happen in your life, there is a part of this process that many people miss. It's not just about what is coming back to you, it is about what is waking up in you. Heaven always gives back what was taken, and it also gives back something deeper that betrayal tried to dull, the ability to tell right from wrong. You might have already seen this change. Things that used to confuse you are now clear. Conversations that used to wear you out now show themselves quickly. You can now tell the difference between being aligned and being distracted in ways you couldn't before. That is not a coincidence. That is wisdom coming back to life in your soul. When you deal with pain honestly, it leaves behind something strong. It leaves you aware. And being aware is one of the best ways that heaven protects people who have lost someone without becoming angry. Chosen one, you are no longer acting like you did when you were innocent. You are working from a place of understanding. You used to think that just being strong would solve everything. You stayed in places that didn't honor your presence longer than you should have. You kept giving people your energy who were grateful for your kindness but never respected your space. You tried to fix systems that needed you to be quiet in order to keep working. But that whole season, heaven has been teaching you something. Being faithful doesn't mean putting up with things that aren't right. Being faithful means taking care of your own soul. I learned this lesson during a time when I thought that being quiet was a sign of humility. I thought that if I held on long enough, things would get better on their own. But what I finally understood was this: Being quiet isn't always being humble. Sometimes it's fear of messing up something that doesn't deserve your loyalty anymore. And God doesn't think you're successful if you put up with things that drain you for a long time. He checks how clearly you respond when the alignment changes. Chosen one, your alignment has changed. That's why you don't feel as much pressure to explain yourself. Not as much desire to change the minds of people who don't want to understand, less willing to negotiate your worth just to keep the peace in places where you have to shrink. This isn't being cocky, this is authority taking hold of your spirit. Noise rarely comes with authority, it comes in quietly, it just takes up space without saying sorry. Some people around you will start to feel uneasy as that power grows inside you, not because you got cold, but because they can't get to you like they used to. Your clarity takes away leverage, your peace takes away control, your silence stops people from using you. People who used to depend on those dynamics feel the change right away when they go away. But you are not responsible for their discomfort. It is your duty to respect the judgment that heaven has given you back. Chosen one, there is also a quiet change happening below the surface. The shame that used to try to attach itself to your loss is going away. Shame always tells the same lie. It says that if someone took something from you, you must have deserved it. That if someone went around you, you weren't good enough. If you were treated badly, you must have gotten something wrong along the way. But when the truth comes in, shame goes away, and the truth is coming out in your life now. What happened to you didn't decide what would happen to you in the future. It made you better at making decisions. It showed you where your compassion was being used and where it should have been. It taught you the difference between waiting and asking for permission. This is why heaven can give you more now, not because you got tougher, but because you got clearer. You didn't stop caring about people, you learned how to protect your care. Right now, something big is happening inside of you. You are going from thinking about how to survive to thinking about how to take care of things. Survival only asks one thing: how do I stay safe? Stewardship asks a very different question: what do I have to carry? And that change makes everything different, because what is coming back into your life won't need to be protected all the time. It will need care on purpose. You fought with doubt every night, fought against bitterness every moment, and chose to hold back instead of getting back at someone. Those were not passive moments, those were investments, and now those investments are starting to pay off. Sometimes that return will show up without making a sound. Sometimes restoration doesn't look like a big win, it can look like stability after a lot of chaos. It seems like consistency is taking the place of unpredictability at times. It can feel like waking up in the morning without getting ready for the next loss. Don't take those times for granted. They show that the world around you has already changed, and what comes next will require you to accept it without fear. Chosen one, as you go deeper into this new season, there is something that heaven wants you to let go of completely. It's the fear of hoping again. People who have been betrayed often have a hidden fear in their hearts. Even when good things start to happen, a quiet voice says, "Be careful, this could be taken, too." That makes sense. When someone steals something from you, your heart naturally tries to protect itself from feeling that loss again. But pay close attention, Anointed One. Keeping your knowledge safe is not the same as shutting your heart. You can't build the next chapter of your life with your hands closed. It needs to be built with care. Discernment lets you stay open without putting yourself in danger of getting hurt by the same things that hurt you before. This is why you might see a change in how opportunities show up around you. In the past, choices may have seemed rushed. There was pressure at every turn. There was always a sense of urgency that made you want to act quickly before the door shut. But what is coming will feel different. Alignment doesn't hurry you. Peace doesn't put you under stress. When something is really ordered by heaven, it comes with clarity instead of confusion. If you have to give up your values to take advantage of an opportunity, it is not restoration. It is not alignment. If it requires secrecy or manipulation to work, you won't have to betray who you are to get what belongs to you. That is one of the most obvious signs that things are changing around you. The next doors will open in a way that keeps your honesty intact. You might also notice that your prayers are changing. A lot of the prayers you said in the past were about fixing things that had broken your trust. You prayed to God to fix broken relationships, clear up misunderstandings, or give back things that had been taken. But now your spirit is going through something deeper. You don't ask heaven to fix everything anymore. You are asking God to do it. That change may seem small, but it has a big effect. Fixing means that something is broken so badly that you can't tell what it is. Ordering means having power. And the truth is, chosen one, the enemy never broke you the way they wanted to. You were being moved to a new place. There may still be times when you want to look back and see how far others have fallen since the time of injustice, but don't give in to that urge. The old chapter was based on comparisons, misunderstandings, and quiet competition. You need to pay attention to the new chapter. What matters now is not what happened in the past, but what is being planned for the future. You are not being brought back to prove anyone wrong. You are being restored to do what was put off. When that fulfillment starts to happen, it will speak louder than anything you could ever say. And as you go on, chosen one, keep this in mind. Keep your heart soft even though your limits are strong. Don't let fear control your trust. Let wisdom guide it. The strength you have now is not the same as the strength you had before the loss. Your strength used to be your ability to last. Now, your strength is your ability to tell the difference. You know the difference between a chance and a distraction. You know what peace is and what pressure is, and that awareness will keep what heaven is bringing back into your life safe. Take a deep breath, chosen one. You can feel the calmness that is starting to replace the stress you had for so long. That steadiness will last. It is the base on which everything else will be built. Chosen one, restoration comes with a holy duty, and not many people talk about it openly. When heaven gives back what was stolen, it doesn't just give back the chance or the position, it gives you back your choice, and that choice is important. During the last season of your life, you had to make a lot of choices quickly. You were reacting, adapting, and getting through situations that took more energy than they gave back. But the next season won't have that same tension. The sense of urgency that used to be in your life is starting to fade, and instead, heaven is giving you something much stronger. The ability to see things clearly when things are calm. You already know how to deal with stress. You showed that. You learned how to stand up for yourself when things seemed unfair, when doors closed without warning, and when people lied about what you wanted. But now you are entering a time that will need a different kind of strength. Not the strength to get through storms, but the wisdom to keep the peace. Being protected and being ready are not the same thing. Protection keeps bad things from happening. Preparation teaches you how to get more without letting bad things back into your life. And that's what heaven is doing with you right now. You may have seen some of the doors that are opening around you before. They might look like chances you used to pray for or chances you missed. But if you pay close attention, you'll see something important. These new doors don't show desperation, There is no fear that will make you say yes right away. If you wait too long, you'll miss your chance. One of the clearest signs of alignment is the lack of pressure. When something is truly meant for you, it doesn't need to be done right away to stay alive. It makes things clear. Alignment keeps you grounded. It doesn't hurry you. And as this process goes on, you might notice a quiet change happening in your spirit. You are becoming less reactive and more responsive. Things that used to make me anxious don't bother me as much anymore. Your choices are starting to come from a place of calm judgment instead of panic. That change is not by chance, chosen one. Power always starts from within before it shows up outside. I know what happens when restoration comes before this change inside. The blessing might be real, but the person who gets it isn't ready to deal with it. They keep doing the same things over and over. They let in the same kinds of people, and then the same cycle starts all over again. But heaven saved you from that. What felt like a delay was really insulation. God was keeping safe the part of you that would be able to handle this next season without falling apart under the weight of its duties. There might be times when you want to talk about everything that happened in the past, to tell people the truth about the unfair treatment you received and to set the record straight about stories that were made up without your input. And the truth is not wrong, but keep this in mind. You don't have to say everything that is true. Truth can sometimes come out over time. Sometimes it shows itself through alignment, and other times the result itself tells the story that words never could. Chosen one, you don't have to prove to anyone that you are valuable anymore. It will show through your consistency. Your stability will prove it. Your peace will make it clear. In this season, you might also notice that you can't handle messes as well as you used to. Places that used to feel normal may now feel tiring. It will be harder for you to have conversations that are based on confusion or manipulation. This isn't being rigid, it is clear, and stewardship needs to be clear. You might need fewer people, fewer commitments, and fewer things to do in the next stage of your life than you did in the last one. Adding more doesn't always happen when you expand. Sometimes, growth takes away things that don't belong anymore. That's how you make room for the next thing that heaven is giving you. And as this clarity grows, chosen one, you will start to understand something very important. Restoration isn't just about getting things back, it's also about making smart choices about what you keep. Chosen one, as restoration goes on, another truth quietly comes to light in your life. Restoration isn't just about getting back what you lost, it's about figuring out what you want to happen in the future. A lot of people think that everything will fall into place as soon as justice comes. But heaven knows something more. When a person's life gets better, it gets noticed, and not all of the attention is the same. You might start to notice this change sooner than you think. People who didn't care about you before may suddenly care again. People who never said your name may start talking about you again. Things that used to seem out of reach may start to seem possible. It can be exciting and even surprising at first, but this is exactly where discernment is needed. Restoration isn't just about getting, it's about making a choice. Who hears your thoughts before they are fully formed? Who looks at your plans before they are done? Who can get to your time when it starts to mean more to you? These questions may seem easy, but they affect how long everything heaven is bringing back into your life will last. Chosen one, heaven is giving you more than just chances. Heaven is giving back the ability to tell right from wrong that betrayal took away. You can see things more clearly now than you ever have before. Believe that clarity. Don't change it just to be nice or to keep things comfortable with people who like the old you. and there will be times when feelings from the past come back. You might still be sad about things that were lost even as the restoration process starts. That sadness is not a sign of weakness. Loss leaves a mark. Healing doesn't make you forget what happened, it changes what it means. Let yourself feel those times without thinking they are signs of doubt. You don't have any problems. You are a person. What matters is that you don't let those memories affect how you deal with what's coming next. You are no longer working from a place of lack, chosen one. In the past, people thought they had to chase every chance because nothing was certain, but the new season works in a different way. You are learning to see that what is truly yours will fit with you. You won't have to compete, hurry, or wear yourself out trying to prove your worth. Peace comes with true restoration. You might notice that peace shows up in ways you didn't expect. You feel calmer in your body. Your reactions get slower. Things that used to make you tense don't control your thoughts the way they used to. That calm isn't the same as being emotionally numb. It is safe to return to your spirit. Control is something that a lot of people try to get to feel safe, but true safety comes when trust is rebuilt within you, and heaven has been doing that for you through every season you have been through. You might also notice that your relationship with prayer is changing. In the past, your prayers may have been urgent, asking God to step in and fix things that seemed too broken to fix. But now your prayers might be quieter, more focused, and less about asking for quick fixes and more about listening for guidance. That change is strong. Listening puts you in a place to get more than just relief, and wisdom is what keeps restoration going long after the moment of breakthrough has passed. You are not the same person who started the season of loss, chosen one. The things you went through made you more aware, strengthened your faith, and helped you understand alignment better. You are now more clear-headed, more stable, and better able to handle the responsibility that comes with growth. And because of that change, what is coming back into your life now has the potential to stay. Don't hurry through this season. Don't test it by trying to speed up what heaven is already doing with great care or by forcing outcomes. Timing is important. It matters that things are in line. And the truth is, chosen one, you are not late. Heaven wanted you to be right where you are. Take a deep breath and feel the calmness building inside you. That steadiness is not weak. It is the base on which the next part of your life will be built. Chosen one, as this restoration becomes more a part of your life, something strong starts to grow inside you. It isn't loud, it doesn't need your attention, but it changes how you act, how you make choices, and how you move through life. You get a quiet confidence from making it through what was meant to break you. This kind of confidence is different from the kind that comes from getting a lot of attention or success quickly. It doesn't depend on applause. It is based on strength. It is based on the nights when you kept going even when everything around you stayed the same. It is based on the times when you chose to be honest even when it would have been easier to give in. You didn't just make it through a hard season, chosen one. You made it through without losing who you are. That matters more than you think because the next stage of your life will need you to be stable on the inside more than on the outside. A lot of people think that being rich or successful is just about getting more. They think of it as getting more power, more resources, and more attention. But heaven sees growth in a different way. Heaven sees wealth as a flow. It's the flow of ideas, chances, relationships, and resources through a life that is ready to handle them in a responsible way. You fought against stagnation in the last season. The enemy wanted you to stay where you were because you were discouraged and give up on your goal because you were frustrated. You kept going, even if it was slow, And the flow hasn't stopped because you kept moving. You are a clean channel, chosen one, and that's why you needed to be pruned. Pruning is never a pleasant thing to do. When branches are cut back, it can seem like something is missing. It might feel like something important has been taken away. But pruning is never a punishment. It gets ready for fruit that can last. If you don't prune, growth becomes unstable. When you prune, the roots go deeper and the structure gets strong enough to hold what's coming next. You might have already noticed another small change happening inside you. Things that used to make you feel very emotional now come to mind less strongly. Conversations that once caused frustration now feel distant, almost as if they belong to another chapter of your life. That is not avoidance, that is healing. Healing changes how memory behaves. The past may still exist, but it no longer controls your reactions. Your nervous system is beginning to stabilize again, and when that stability returns, your discernment becomes sharper. Chosen one. This is where authority begins to express itself naturally, not through force, not through loud declarations, but through clarity. You begin to sense alignment without overthinking every detail. You recognize when something belongs in your life and when it does not. There is something important you must remember as this clarity grows. You do not owe access to everyone who benefited from your former version. You do not owe explanations to people who did not protect you when they had a chance.